Time now for a look through the day's newspapers. We're joined on set by Alison Sargent. Alison, going to start in India. The government there hitting back at foreign celebrities for weighing in on the country's farmers' protests.
That's right, Eve. Now, the Indian government did not name any names, but this comes after a lot of high-profile people, and notably the singer Rihanna, weighed in on the farmers' protests. The Hindustan Times here list comments from Rihanna and from some other of the high-profile figures on their front page here. They include Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg, Kamala Harris's niece, Meena Harris, and then people who commented against the protests, mostly Indian celebrities. We see Indian actors and a cricket player. Now, the Hindustan Times reports that India's external affairs minister responded on Wednesday saying the attempts to mobilize international support against India without ascertaining facts were, quote, neither accurate nor appropriate. The paper also notes that the minister's statement was accompanied for the first time by hashtags. These hashtags were India Together and India Against Propaganda. And we see the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi erecting a series of barricades in this cartoon by Satish Acharya. The first two are to stop Annadatta, which means food providers and is a term used to refer to the farmers. The second are hashtags that he's erecting to stop Rihanna Datta.
Even though many public figures have weighed in, Rihanna has been somewhat embraced as the symbol of the farmers' movement. The Times of India, you spotted even writing an editorial about her.
Yeah, in Rihanna, the farmers' movement has found its mamala. That's according to the Times of India in this editorial. They write that, quote, she is sequined, stilettoed, and has an operatic moral compass. The headline of this editorial, Rihanna You Da One, is a reference to the title of one of Rihanna's songs. Clearly, there are some big Rihanna fans over at the Times of India because this editorial is full of references to her songs. Amidst the silliness, though, the paper does have a serious conclusion here. They say to get an educated and balanced perspective about the farmers' protests, well, Twitter is really not the place to go. The paper also says that the Indian government has really done itself no favors by, quote, thin-skinnedly wading into the flame fest.
Well, your next topic, Alison, also a star-studded one, reactions to this year's Golden Globes nominees.
Yeah, lots of negative reactions, Eve, but we can start with the positive ones. The Guardian is highlighting three female directors who were nominated for the top film directing prize, a historic first time that three women have been nominated. They include Regina King, who we see pictured here. She was nominated for her film One Night in Miami, about a meeting between the rights icons Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke. Now, the paper notes that until now, just 5 female directors had ever been nominated for a Golden Globe. Only one, Barbara Streisand, has ever won. So this is progress in one domain, but when it comes to the awards, TV nominations, diversity is sorely lacking. Entertainment website Deadline writes that it sets back Hollywood's representation goals. Many critics are particularly appalled that Netflix's Emily in Paris got 2 nominations for Best Actress and Best TV Comedy, particularly when HBO and BBC's groundbreaking dark comedy I May Destroy You got 0 nominations. And now, one of the writers for Emily in Paris has actually written an editorial in The Guardian expressing her own shock and disapproval. Deborah Kopeikin writes that I May Destroy You is not only her favorite show of 2020, but it's her favorite show ever. She calls its creator and star, Michaela Cole, a genius. She's the woman you see there. And this writer says, you know, my fury is not just about race or even about racial representation in art. We really just need to give awards to the shows that deserve them.
Let's move away from the celebrity world to talk about a major story here. In France, a court has ruled that the government is guilty of inaction on climate change.
Right, this is a hugely symbolic ruling. French NGOs have been hailing it as a historic victory. As we read in the HuffPost, the court is requiring the French government to pay each of the 4 organizations that brought the case a symbolic euro in moral damages. But that's really the only concrete consequence so far. The judges have given themselves 2 months to decide if they're going to make other demands of the French government. Meanwhile, a writer for France's left-wing paper Libération is asking what or whom is the court condemning really? They note that Nicolas Hulot, who's a very well-known French environmental activist here, he's one of the people who brought the case. They say he's sort of accusing himself in a way because he was actually France's environment minister back in 2017 and 2018 when France was going beyond its carbon budget. So the writer here concludes that this case really raises questions about responsibility and notably our collective responsibility.
Yeah, it is an interesting ruling for sure. Finally, Alison, staying in France, for the last story, you've spotted a study that found that society is becoming less prudish about pubic hair.
That's right, Eva. It kind of blows my mind that polls about pubic hair are what we spend our time and money on. But
right.
There you go. Here it is. 20 Minutes cites an IFOP study finding that the number of women who do not think waxing their pubic hair is important has doubled since 2013. So fewer people waxing overall, we could imagine. Meanwhile, though, the number of women who wax entirely has actually gone up from 14 to 24%, the paper says. That compares to just 14% of men who wax their pubic regions entirely. The study does also look at men. If you want all the details, you can read 20 Minutes. The reason, though, this story got on my radar is the image you see here. This is how the paper originally chose to illustrate this story with a picture of grated carrots. Quite evocative. This got a lot of attention online because it is so silly, but I guess, in their defense, it's hard to illustrate.
Okay. But definitely different, Alison. Thanks a lot for that look at the international papers. Time for us to take a very quick break now, but we're back with more updates in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. You also wonder, it's like...